Long time no see. Bit of a change today. And you're probably wondering what the heck's going on. And you're also probably thinking to yourself, finally, now we're going to get our sermons as videos going forward. You heard the expression, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Today is special. As a matter of fact, this is not even a live sermon. This is being recorded. And the recording is what you'll be watching on Sunday. So if you're watching this now, then this will probably be a Sunday for you, if you're watching it as it's being streamed for the first time. I prefer to do our sermons live, and therefore that is why I've asked you to allow me to continue doing the sermons as we always have been doing them, because I feel there is a difference with a live sermon as opposed to a recorded sermon. But today is different. Today is special, because today is for Nick. Today is an exception. And no, there won't be another one. Well, I know they say, don't say never, never say never. But the live sermon, there's always something special about that. So today is different, today is special. Because today is for Nick. Who's Nick? Exactly. I received an email from Nick. So an email was sent to the monastery for the attention of our monks from Nick, who wanted some help. And I know you're probably wondering, whoa, this Nick must be some special guy. We've been asking Swamin Wahanse to do these sermons as videos all this time, and he never budged. But this Nick guy, he comes along from somewhere. He makes one request, and hey ho, look at who's on video. Well, yes, Nick is in fact very special. Having read his email, I can't help but think that he's a brother from another mother. Because a lot of the things that he has said and the way he has felt about life, I can relate to that. Not in quite maybe the same way, but I appreciate where he's coming from. So this is for Nick. Dear Nick, this is for you. And maybe for all other Nicks to come in the future. So you want to know who this Nick is? Let me read to you his email. Let's find out. Hello, he says. Hello. My name is Nick, and I live in the USA. I'm 29, male, single, with no kids, Sounds pretty good all so far, doesn't it? And I've been miserable my whole life. Now, why might that be? In fact, I remember being as young as 2 or 3 and having this deep sorrow and feeling that life was just a horror show. So he's 29 now, and for ever since he was 2 or 3, so that's 27 odd years he's been feeling this way. What's he been feeling? That life is full of deep sorrow and a feeling that it's a horror show. I'm currently at my breaking point, and I am in fact contemplating offing myself, in all honesty. The only thing that is preventing me is the survival drive and the overpowering fear that goes along with it. He goes on to say, I don't think anyone truly understands what this world is or how it works, just simply due to the fact that we are all limited humans with a biased and filtered perception of this existence. And for that reason, I don't disbelieve rebirth. That's interesting. And reincarnation could be a possibility. I also don't necessarily buy it either, nor all of Buddhism, especially the more woo things. That's what I'm saying, it's just like me. He must be my brother from another mother, my B fam. However, the life of a monk seems like the only alternative to suicide for me. Sorry if this email is too blunt and honest, but as I have said, I'm at my rope's end, and I don't know what else to do. Any advice or direction would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, Nick. Well, thank you for the email, Nick. You must be some very special guy. I've been doing these sermons for, a long time. Can't remember off the top of my head. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I think maybe even longer. And I think this is the first time I've actually done an English sermon to the camera. I've spoken to a laptop before, but not to a camera. So, Nick, you're very special. No one's gotten me to do this before, so you must be very special. Meaning, you must be someone who has a lot of merit. So, I'd like to see what we can do with the power of merits. To see what merit is capable of. Suppose we'll find out. And the reason I feel that, the reason I can relate to you, Nick, is because I feel about life in much the same way as you do. So I'd like you to know that all these things you're feeling, and I'm even impressed by the fact that you've felt this way since your younger years, since 2 or 3, blimey. Now that's deep. For someone as young as 2 or 3 to begin to feel that life is full of sorrow and it's a horror show, I mean, that is deep. That's very profound. I wish I felt that way when I was younger. In fact, in my younger years, 2 or 3 years of age, I thought life was a party. I thought life was a merry-go-round. I knew nothing about life. If anyone were to come and tell me about suffering or sorrow and grief, I wouldn't believe that. I wouldn't have believed that. Yeah, there were little things, small problems, oftentimes the odd fight with my brother, right, and friends and things like that. But I wouldn't have said that life is full of sorrow. No, I wouldn't have said that. That is because I didn't see life in quite the same way that you did back then. But today I do. Today I agree with you that life can be full of sorrow, that it can be a horror show. What has taken me 20 odd long years to realize, you understood at a very young age. Where have you been all my life? I wish we'd met earlier. I wish I were able to talk to you face to face. You can see me, and when I close my eyes, I can see you. Not literally. Just before anyone thinks, oh, Swami Namaste can do that also now. No. I'm not one to blow my own trumpet. And not that I have that power anyway. But through this email, through your words, your expressions, your emotions, your feelings, I feel you, young man. I feel you. And I'm glad that you got in touch. I am glad that someone who appreciates life as it is, someone who has the potential, who has the insightful power to see beyond the glamorous veil of pleasure and the facade that people like to put up. I'm glad that I found someone who can actually, even perhaps before listening to any of the sermons, you can penetrate that, you can see through that, and actually see that there is in fact a lot of suffering and life can be a horror show. Now I realize this only at a very later stage in my life. It took me almost 25 years before I realized what you have realized from a very young age. So when I realized that, I knew something had to be done. Right? Just as you have realized that something has to be done, I too felt that something has to be done. Because just like you, I'm not one to let suffering overtake me. Just like you, I don't just sit on my backside waiting for anything to happen and for suffering to come and completely overwhelm me. I'm not like that. And you're not either. Of course, you're my brother from another mother. So we share another trait. You and I, we have both felt when we experience this suffering in life that something has to be done about it, didn't we? It is clear from this email that you have decided to take one course of action, and I would like to think that you would have tried lots of other avenues, lots of other things before deciding to do what you have decided. And I too tried lots of things in my life before deciding to do what I did. What I'd like to, perhaps through this conversation, Nick, my brother, is ask you just to make an inquiry as to whether you might have tried this one trick that I found in my book, this one method that I came across. I mean, because I'm not sure, perhaps this is one thing that you didn't come across. And of course, that is why you have come looking for me. That is why you have asked me, is there any advice that can be offered? So I'd like to share with you, Nick, what I tried. What I tried when I, just as you, began to see that life was not just all fun and tickety-boo. That there was in fact a lot of suffering. That there is a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief, a lot of pain, torment. And life can be a horror show. You'll be glad to know that I have felt about life the same way as you do. And you may perhaps have felt that every day is the same. Through my experience and study and living the Dhamma, guess what? I've come to learn that it's not just every day. Every rise and fall of a thought contains within itself sorrow, grief, pain, and in fact it is indeed a horror show. So first things first, you have been able to realize something that not many people are able to. And for that, mate, give yourself a pat on the back. You have no idea how lucky you are, how fortunate you are. In fact, I'll go even further, how wise you are. To be able to penetrate that veil of pleasure. It's only a superficial veil. It's not true. And to have realized that life can be full of sorrow and it can be a horror show. I wish more people did. I wish we had more Nicks. You may recall the story of the Prince Siddhartha, who went on to become the Buddha. His father, so I'm trying to say, I'm trying to show you how wise men are like, right? His father, the great king Suddhodana, tried every trick in the book to prevent his young son, this young prince, from realizing that this world is full of suffering. I have no idea to what length, to what extent he tried this. All old people sick people, poor people, they were banned from the cities. Because there was a prophecy. Because some people said, the prophet said, that his son would go on to become a wheel-turning monarch. So that's a very powerful king, in simple words. Or that he would renounce life. You see the connection here? That he would renounce life one day, having realized that all of this is just suffering, that there is no real joy to be had in this mirage that others try to paint in front of our eyes. And he would renounce all of this and go on to find a much deeper, a much more superior state of mind where he would put all of that suffering to an end. So his father tried every trick in the book. He consulted his ministers, his advisors, and he went to great lengths. He banished people from the poor people, sick people, elderly people. They were not allowed. So anytime the prince would take an excursion around the kingdom, all of these poor, sick and elderly people, prior to the prince's visit, would be removed from the streets. Can you imagine that? He actually went to that length. He would send his troops prior to the prince's visit, and he would remove all of those people from the streets to make it appear to the young prince that everyone was just young, healthy, with the means to survive, and everyone was well off, and everyone was happy. And people would just be laughing and smiling. I would even imagine, if the king ever got to know that two people got into a fight, a brawl, in the prince's presence, he probably would have summoned them to the palace, the king's court, and have them punished. Why? Because he wanted the prince to think that this world was full of joy and pleasure and happiness, and that there was no suffering in this world. But hey, Nick, just like you, this prince, he was a very wise man. It wasn't that easy to hide the truth from him. He was about to become the Buddha, right? Of course, he was a wise man. So actually, thinking about it, people who think like that, they're going to become great people. I wonder what's in store for you. So the story goes that on one fine day, the prince wanted to make an excursion around the kingdom, and the king, as per protocol, arranged for all poor, sick and elderly people to be removed from the streets. However, 3 people somehow managed to remain. Just 3. It is even said that it was one of the gods, the Sakradeva, who manifested himself and appeared as a sick man, a poor man, and a dead man. But whether that is true or not, I don't want to woo you, right? Whether that is true or not, 3 people remained in the kingdom. So the king was unable to remove everyone. 3 slipped through his fingers. So what happened? Prince Siddhartha got on his chariot with his trusted friend and charioteer, And as they went round the kingdom, the prince spotted an old man, and he was shocked. Having spotted this old man, he asked his charioteer, his name was Channa. He said, "Channa, stop." He said, "What is that?" I'd imagine that's how he would have asked the question. Not "who is that?" but rather, he probably would have asked, "What is that?" Why did he ask that? Because that is how much he was isolated from the poor, sick, and elderly by his king, by his father, the king, that when he saw this elderly man, this old man, he couldn't recognize that actually they're human beings just like him, just like he was. So he asked Channa, "Who's that?" And Channa said, "Well, Your Majesty, that is an old man." And the prince goes, "A what?" "An old man." What's an old man? So in today's words, he would have said, "Duh." So yeah, in those days, he said, "Well, yeah, you can't say duh to the prince. That would be the last time you say something like that." So he said, he would have said something like, "Well, Prince, I'm sorry to inform you that everyone grows old." And then the prince asks, "What do you mean everyone? Surely I'm not going to grow old. Look at that man. He looks ugly." And Channa said, "I'm afraid, yes, my lord. My prince, you will also one day grow old, just like that man." It's going to happen to all of us. Are you telling me that one day I will lose my vitality, my youth, my power, my prowess, and I'll be an old man like him, weak and frail and fragile, without even being able to keep my back straight? And Channa, the charioteer, said, "Of course, my lord. Happens to the best of us." Blimey. The prince was shocked. So he carries on, contemplating about this. And he's thinking to himself, "But hang on, I thought the world was full of joy and happiness and pleasure and beauty and glory. What's this? I've never seen something like this before. What's this? An old man. I've never come across this before. Why did my father never mention this? My teachers, no one ever mentioned this to me, that this is going to happen to me. But why not?" So he's thinking to himself. He knows his father loves him a lot. So, but why did my father not divulge this to me? Why did he keep this a secret? So further down the road, he sees another unusual sight. Something he'd never seen before. And here was a sick man, a very sick man, coughing, probably spewing out blood. Very sick, trembling, fever, shivering, crying for help. And then again he asks his trusted charioteer, "Channa, what's that?" "Well, sire, that of course is a sick man, sir." "A what man?" "A sick man, sir." "A sick man? What's a sick man?" "Sir, it's when you become ill. Happens to the best of us. You become weak then. You fall on your knees